QAnon, the internet, and society. To begin to understand the QAnon theory, we need to go back to the fall of 2016. At that time, an email server was hacked, leaking the private emails of a number of high-ranking members of the Democratic National Committee. John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, was one of these members. His emails were weird, to say the least, and members of certain social media groups began to notice odd wordings and phrasings used by Podesta in these emails, such as frequent allusions to pizza and dinners at Comet Ping Pong, a Washington pizza restaurant. One user pointed out that pizza might be a code word for child abuse. From there, the theory exploded. On message boards like 4chan's Poll and Reddit's The Donald, users began searching for any evidence which could show that Podesta and other members of the DNC were part of a ring of child abusers. Users speculated that the basement of Comet Ping Pong housed kill rooms, underground tunnels, and hosted satanic and cannibalistic rituals. They used the logo of Comet and nearby restaurants as proof that they were complicit in ritual abuse, and connected other members of the Democratic Party, even President Obama, into the theory. Now, obviously, none of this is true. Those logos are no different than hundreds of other logos. Computer imagery and blueprints for Comet show no basement, and while John Podesta is a weird guy, there's not much evidence besides his oddities as proof of the conspiracy. This event was known as Pizzagate, and it remains the backbone of the QAnon theory. Now, let's discuss some terminology as an introduction to the topic. To begin, Q, a member of Trump's inner circle who supposedly holds Q security clearance, allowing them to access top secret information. Q posts on the image board 8chan, an offshoot of 4chan, about a secret mission to dismantle the Deep State. The Deep State is, according to Mike Lofgren, a QAnon proponent, a hybrid association of elements of government and parts of top-level finance and industry that is effectively able to govern the United States without reference to the consent of the governed as expressed through the formal political process. Trump refers to the Deep State numerous times in his tweets as the swamp. Depending on who you ask, the Deep State may also refer to the media elite and members of the DNC. Where we go one, we go all. The catchy and definitely not redundant catchphrase of Q believers, which Q frequently uses himself as a signature to his posts. The Great Awakening, the supposed day of reckoning for members of the Deep State, when Q reveals his master plan and hundreds of Trump's opponents are arrested and charged. Up until its banning in October of 2018, the Great Awakening also referred to the largest Q discussion forum on Reddit, where users discuss the minute details of each of Q's posts, known as Q drops, messages posted by Q on 8chan, usually heavily encoded and riddle-like. Here's an example of a typical Q drop, posted on April 3rd of 2018. Usually, they're a collection of words or phrases which are generally incomprehensible. This is by design, so that Q believers can feel like they're part of the game, solving Q's puzzles to reveal the conspiracy. Eventually, users began to create massive, and I do mean massive, webs of connections between thousands of events and peoples, attempting to connect them all together.
This country being bled like a stuck pig, Mac, and I got a paper trail to prove it. Check this out. Take a look at this.
Jesus Christ,
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
QAnon.
This name keeps coming up over and over again every day.
Q.
His mail's getting sent back to me.
QAnon. Q.
Yeah, I look in the mail. Well, this whole box is
QAnon.
So I say to myself, I gotta find this guy. I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands. Otherwise, he's never gonna get it. He's gonna keep coming back down here. So I go up to
Q.
office. And what do I find out, Mac? What do I find out? There is no
QAnon.
All of this is obviously fake, and in reality, the QAnon account has changed hands a number of times, with marked changes in dialect and language when the account changes over. At one point, Q posted an image of him on Air Force One. However, when image analysis was done, it was revealed to simply be an image taken by ABC of President Obama. Nevertheless, QAnon proponents continue to follow the daily postings, and believe that the Great Awakening will happen any day now. Why? Well, this is where the discussion becomes much broader, and encapsulates nearly every internet community. Prior to the internet, conspiracy theorists, political outsiders, and niche communities existed, but were usually reined in by the media, their colleagues, and the general public as a whole. The internet, however, changed the game. These communities no longer needed to temper their beliefs for the broader public. Instead, they could discuss theories and ideas with thousands of other people who fully believed what they themselves believed. This can have a cascading effect, as the beliefs become increasingly radical and increasingly accepted. Communities like the Great Awakening can become safe spaces for the mentally ill, where people reinforce their beliefs, causing them to forego treatment and even the outside world for the comforting embrace of the clique. And this can have dire consequences. Remember Pizzagate? Well, here's how it ended. On December 4th of 2016, Edgar Welch, a 28-year-old man, entered Comet Ping Pong with an AR-15 and fired 3 shots, striking the walls, a desk, and a door. He shouted that he planned to self-investigate the theory. Members of the restaurant secretly called the police, and thankfully, Welch was quickly arrested without injuring anyone. Now, this event could have occurred very differently, and as more of the mentally ill flock to conspiratorial communities, it's only a matter of time. So, what can we do? Well, these communities aren't that unique, and this phenomena happens in nearly every fringe community on the internet. As society becomes increasingly atomized, and people become increasingly distant, it's easy to return to the comforting embrace of an in-group. So my advice is, be vigilant, and consider taking a step away from social media once in a while.